Welcome to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I'm Dominique DePrima, in for Tammi Mack. Reality TV. It has become a permanent part of our entertainment landscape. Is it good for us? Is it important? Or is it playing a central role in our culture? Let's talk about it. We've got a great group of folks here to shed some light on reality TV. It is such a big part of our lives, and it's not going anywhere. Please welcome 1/3 of the Grammy Award-winning group Naughty by Nature, Vin Rock.
Hello. How are
Hi,
you?
welcome. So glad you're here. TV personality and activist Mona Lisa Johnson.
Hey there, how's it going?
Great to see you. Octavia Bostic, who's a DEI liaison and an activist and media professional.
Hello, everyone.
And reality TV expert and host, podcast host, DJ Richie Sky. Welcome.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the basic. I'm so glad you guys could all be here. Why is reality TV so popular? And when it first came out, it kind of seemed like it was going to come and go, but now it's going and going and going, and it seems like no end is in sight. I guess I'll start with you on this one, Richie, since you're the expert on this genre.
Well, I think a part of the reason it's here to stay is because it doesn't cost that much to make. When you think about the expense of making a television production that's in the scripted space, it's going to cost you a lot more than it would cost to make a reality TV program. So for me, I feel like that's one of the reasons why it's here to stay. But also, too, as we've kind of grown with the characters that we've been watching on reality TV, the same way that we've been watching Mariska Hargitay on Law and Order is the same way that we've been watching, Kenya Moore on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. We want to follow these people's journeys for as long as we possibly can to see where they end up and to watch their story arcs as they continue to grow.
And Mona Lisa Johnson, I mean, you've actually been in the reality TV space as a participant. Why do you think it's so popular?
I personally think it's popular because it helps to reach people right where they are. They start to find themselves, in the stories of reality TV. They start to relate to our personalities, and they start to realize that, that could be me too. And so when I look at reality TV and when other people look at reality TV, they start to realize that, their stories are equally as the same as some of us who are on TV.
Talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Octavia Bostic, is everyone watching reality TV? Is it popular with everyone, or is it a small slice of America?
Unfortunately, it's popular with everyone. I tend to disagree just a little bit with Mona Lisa in that I don't necessarily see anyone that I personally relate to on any of the reality shows. But I think that we all just love the drama. Sometimes it takes us away from our own life. I think it's, escapism, which can be good or bad, but reality TV is it's not that real for me, but I do indulge, I must say.
Last but definitely not least, Vin Rock. I mean, you are in entertainment at the top level of our entertainment ecosystem. How do you view the popularity of reality television?
I view the popularity of reality television as pretty much, in a lot of instances, almost like predatory casting. They choose the bottom of the barrel of society for the most part, the most vulnerable people, and they dangle network television in their face. And then they say, you know what, you can develop this character, we'll manipulate the storyline of this character. And if your ratings are such, and if your character jumps out, the more money you make. So they're manipulating people to just sell their soul for the sake of $1. That's how I see it. And with your traditional actors, actresses, or truly talented people, it's like jumping the line and never mind your true skill set. It's just as ratchet as you can be. That's the position they'll take.
Well, okay, so you're saying it's targeting the bottom of the barrel. And when we talk about reality TV, I think it was you, Miss Bostic, said it's really not reality. Why is that important? And then why do you think that that's damaging or problematic, what you're saying about going to the bottom of the barrel? I mean, you could argue bottom of the barrel needs representation too, needs jobs too, wants to be seen and heard.
Yes, well, it does. But the problem is that when you're in these inner cities and, single parents, especially single females, and I'm sure that demo is the reality television viewership comes down to a lot of women, right? And then you have a lot of single women, especially in our inner cities. They're watching this and their kids are absorbing this. So their kids are like, this is how I communicate with my peers, with my friends, with my family members. And they take that out in the world with them. They take it to school, they take it to job environments, and it's a really toxic social experiment. So if children think that this is the way you communicate in the real world, they're sadly mistaken, and it's something that really and truly needs to be corrected.
Well, let's talk about that, Mona Lisa Johnson. I mean, you have been on reality TV, going into prison, being in there, partly to reconnect with your own daughter who got on the wrong path. Don't you think that some of these images, especially of Black women, are problematic in terms of what it does to our self-image?
That's a tough one, because when I went in, I wasn't thinking about, quote unquote, my own self-image. I was thinking about the problem at hand that was not being addressed. And that was all of the injustices that were going on in the prison and the jail system. And I went into jail, not prison, which is a little bit different. But I will say, that there are some shows that are out there that does make us look, really bad, gives us, in my personal opinion, not so much of a great look, if you will. I mean, we kind of look crazy in some of these reality shows. But then the one that I was on, despite the fact that I had braids in my hair and I was in jail and I couldn't do anything to myself if I wanted to, I don't feel like that made Black women look bad. I felt like it made us look like we needed to recognize and realize what was going on behind those doors and not take it for granted.
Right. Okay. So I'm not just talking about looking bad. I'm talking about the role modeling, right? Of what our choices, what we see as our choices in life, what we see as our options. And I'm going to throw this to you, DJ Richie Sky, because what shows are portraying Black women well? I don't know what they are, but it seems like for the most part, especially for the interaction between Black women, the sisterhood is taking a beating on reality TV.
I guess I would make a couple of distinctions. I mean, the first thing is I have actually done reality TV myself.
Right.
I didn't necessarily, as a participant, feel bottom of the barrel, so to speak.
Right.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, my story and the way they portrayed it was very well done. And I was very pleased with the outcome. And the show that I was on was aspirational and uplifting. Now, taking it to the portion that you asked about, I would simply say this. There are shows out there, these housewife shows, the Love and Marriage Huntsvilles, the upcoming Love and Marriage DC, these shows, some of them on OWN, some of them on Bravo, are meant to also show an aspirational lifestyle, specifically the Love and Marriage shows, right? And so they allow us to sometimes see ourselves in a position where we might not normally see ourselves. For me, I was told after I did reality TV that I would not work in news. And what did I do? As soon as I finished working in reality TV, I worked on a morning news show. So to me, that's null and void, right? So then I take the fact that I'm watching these shows, I Love and Marriage Huntsville, about, there's definitely drama, there's definitely some chaos and mayhem, as there is with any show. That's the case with any form of television. There's usually conflict and resolution, right?
Yeah,
so
but we
for
don't
me,
call it reality. It's fantasy. It's a narrative story.
There's a narrative story.
Yeah.
However, even in reality, you still have a story arc, right? So for me, just as an example, I'm watching these shows about these families who are real estate developers. So because of my learning about that, I actually just finished real estate school because I was inspired by the stories on the shows. So it can be used in definitely a positive way, and we can definitely see positive aspects and influences on the screen on some of these shows.
The question we're addressing today is, has reality TV failed Black people? Is it failing Black people, especially Black women? And I can't leave you out of this conversation. Octavia Bostic, are you seeing any positive portrayals, especially of Black women?
I get the intention. I definitely get the intention with the like you said, the real estate show. And even with that, for me, I guess in working in a corporate environment, to me, I feel like for people who that's their only representation of Black people, it makes them feel like their interactions with me at work are either going to go like that, like they see on television, or it makes them feel like it's okay to come and talk to me, any old kind of way because they see, how they interact on these shows. And I have yet to go into my doctor or dentist office and see a fight. I have yet to go and, look at a house with a realtor who, not no shade, but well, I guess it was a little shade, but looks like they're going out to a club. Like I just feel like the way that they protect us is it gives people this impression of us that we're all the same, and being Black is
yes, hold that thought. We are going to continue this conversation. Is reality TV failing Black people? It's Business of Being Black. Dominique DePrima in for Tammi Mack on Foxsoul TV. Welcome to Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. Obviously, I'm not Tammi Mack. I'm Dominique DePrima, filling in for Miss Tammi. And I'm so pleased to be joined today by Vin Rock of Naughty by Nature, Mona Lisa Johnson, a TV personality, Octavia Bostic, a liaison in the DEI and professional space, and DJ Richie Sky, who is a reality TV personality and commentator. And we're talking about reality TV. Has it failed the Black community? It's a big question and an important one. And Richie, you were talking about how, you've been inspired by certain shows, and some shows do seem to set a path forward, even if it's a very grand and super made up one, towards some kind of a career. But there's been some criticism that the Black version of a Selling Sunset, that we don't see the selling Tampa. We don't see the ladies selling anything. We just see a lot of hot air. Do you think there's a different standard between what we see in Black reality shows and others?
No, I don't. Not really. Because if you look at the stats of who was selling what on which shows, you will also find that what we actually saw on Selling Sunset, allegedly anyway, was not really being all sold by the cast members on the show. So when you want to equate the two, you really are looking at, there's really two top producers on a Selling Sunset, whereas the ladies in Selling Tampa were working to build and establish themselves in the luxury market. So the premises were two totally different things. And I don't think it's too far-fetched to believe that they could accomplish that, especially, a woman of color building her own agency. Why shouldn't we see that?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, Octavia, do you think that there's real damage that's going on in terms of these shows and their impact on our community? Real concrete damage other than just, oh, I wish you'd read a book.
Yeah, no, I think they are, it's important for, Black people to see other Black people on television. But I do also think that for people who are so impressionable and get the wrong impression of what they're seeing, it's dangerous because they believe it's when you do get to corporate America, that you can act any kind of way. Like when they say bring your authentic self to work, they don't really want your authentic self. And I trust and believe me when I tell you, they don't. And it's unfortunate because I would love to go to work as my authentic self, but you do have to code switch. And reality television doesn't show that part because I can't go to work and cuss out my boss as much as I would like to.
And
Right.
I would jump in and say this, when it comes to the real estate shows. So, yes, it's great to see a fledgling real estate conglomerate coming together and build up. But, on some of these other shows, hey, they pick the established guys. They pick the, sound guys in the market who are selling. So what are you saying? There are no minority or minority female or male successful luxury realtors there? We always have to be pit like we're at the bottom and we're fighting and struggling not only amongst ourselves but amongst the market and the business in general, just to be valid in that space. And I think it's always like that for us when it comes to television. And I think when our traditional, whatever our traditional reality shows were, and I don't want to call out certain shows, but it was all fighting. It was all aggression. It carried over into real life. And then when the network started getting sued, then they pulled it back. So once they maxed that out and totally exploited, they said, you know what? This is going to cost us more in the long run than it will in the short term. So now it kind of forces them to look at other stories and look at other people in different sectors and begin to report on that, or at least greenlight those kinds of shows.
Let me jump in.
Go ahead.
I want to jump in on that too. I think we're looking at just one particular type of show back from the very, beginning of Black reality. We're not really looking at and taking a serious gander across what has happened on other TV stations outside of Bravo, outside of E. What about HGTV? What about A&E? What about all those other stations that have brought great reality programming with Black people involved, with Black women, not only just
Okay, so
Black.
give me some examples what you're thinking of.
How about my show? 60 days.
Okay.
Let's
I am
go there.
obsessed
60
with your
days
show.
in. 60 days in. That was an amazing show, in my opinion. It did in the last few seasons, because I think they're on season 8 now. And they're done now too. On that last 7 and 8 season, it did start to sensationalize and take away the reality of what was going in there and start to paint the picture of what really was not happening. But in the first 4 to 5 seasons, absolutely what was being shown in there was the real deal. There are more Black women going to prison and jail now than ever in the past. So we needed to paint that picture. We needed to talk about that because it was
But do we know? I mean, let's address that. This could go to, I guess this can go to Octavia, because it seems to me it's not just reality TV. All TV and movies, Black people tend to be stereotyped. Black women especially, we're dangerous, we're angry, we're problematic, we're messy. Is reality TV any worse? And is it really giving us more opportunity? Do we need to see what Mona Lisa is talking about, Black women in prison? Or are we seeing too much of that already?
No, we don't ever need to see Black women in prison, first of all. But I get your point. But to speak to the networks, how many people who need to watch HTV watch HGTV? How many people watch those other networks with the positive, Black?
You're talking about ratings, right?
Yeah, ratings. Yeah, as far as the numbers go to the drama, unfortunately, and that's what more people are exposed to. That's what more people see. That's what more people talk about. I would love to have all of those other shows on True Network television. But unfortunately, the stereotypes is what always gets perpetuated.
But Octavia, to be fair, that's the same with the news. If it bleeds, it leads. So we can't really put that all on reality TV. We love to see Black women and Black men in jail on the news too. And news is an infinite choice of facts and stories you could tell. But we tend to tell the ones that stereotype Black people. Why should reality TV be better?
They should both be better. They
Okay.
really should both be better. Because like you said, there are a lot of positive news stories that, that don't get talked about like they should. And, in the DEI space, just having a person of color there is not enough. It has to be purposeful. Don't, it's not just a statistic or a number. This person is there because they're qualified, because they should be there, not, as a antidote, for lack of a better word.
DEI for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And DJ Richie Sky, I feel like you were trying to jump in there. You want to get in a quick hit here?
Well, I just also want to allow us to give Black people, and in particular, Black women, a lot more credit than to think that everything that they see on television is a reflection of who they are. Because I feel like the Black women that I know don't always see themselves in the drama that's playing out on reality TV. So it's the same with what we see on the news, and it's the same with what we hear in music, right? Because the same could be said for music, which people are typically reciting over and over and over and over again. Are they then acting out those lyrics?
We just got about a minute here. Then he's kind of calling you out.
Well, I mean, hey,
No.
the
You down with
producer-
OPP? I mean, I'm just saying.
I know, right? But listen, it's like this. He really is making a great point. I remember C. Dolores Tucker in the early 90s. She was fighting against Tupac, against the industry, and forewarning us, listen, this violence, this suggestive content in these music or in the songs and in the music, it will affect the people and it will spill over into the streets. And they fought like crazy to kind of censor what was going on. Now that I'm 51 years old and I hear the music and I see what's happening in drill music and reality TV and these podcasts, it's the most toxic entertainment has been in the last 30 years.
We are talking about reality TV. Is it failing the African-American community? What is the answer? Censorship? New shows, or keep it pushing? It's Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I'm Dominique DePrima for Foxsoul TV. Business of Being Black. I'm Dominique DePrima in for Tammi Mack, and we are about the business, talking about, entertainment across the board, but our mission today was about reality TV. Is it failing the Black community? And Vin Rock, you started talking about the music, and we were talking about the role of music and the messages in the music. Is censorship the answer? Is artistic freedom and trusting our audience the answer? What is your perspective now with some time under your belt in this industry?
Well, I think what's happening right now is people are using art and freedom of speech as just a post up to be reckless, to be so dangerous. If you look at what's going on from reality TV to music, to podcasting, to what's happening on the internet, it's the most toxic this industry has been in the last 30 years. And our children are learning how to, socialize with this combination. It's like a toxic stew that's going on right now.
But you know what, Ben, I wonder, because it seems like every generation says that. I mean, I see what you're saying. I see the gangbanging on Instagram. I see, crazy things happening. But at the same time, I feel like every generation goes, oh, this kids today are going to hell in a handbasket. And I don't want to be that chick.
Oh, no. And you look statistically, our young Black males, especially with this drill music, it's genocide. It's genocide. It's corporate sponsored genocide, and there's no accountability for it. And, you have a lot of corporations who are co-signing a generational death. So this is something that as adults, we really need to pay attention to across the board in entertainment. It started with music. It's gone to the reality shows. Now it's on demand with Instagram. Well, your social media, your
I mean, I would argue it's even in politics now, right? When you could just
and it's even
say any old thing and do any old, yeah.
It's like a total social meltdown. Where do we go? Where do we pull the ranks? And where do we bring back civilization? Because as modern as all the technology is and what we have going on right now, there's a lot of convenience, but as a society, we're going back to ultimate savages.
But see, at the same time, we see a lot of progress. We see more rights. We see more consciousness, more wokeness, if you will. Talk to me about this, DJ Richie Sky. Should reality creators just be able to do whatever they want with no regard to how it impacts society?
Well, there was a point that I think he made specifically about there sort of being a slight switch in the amount of violence that we saw at a certain point in time. And I'm just going to go ahead and talk about, Love and Hip Hop. There was one particular reunion where it was just an all out brawl. And I noticed that ever since that point, there has been a concerted effort to show less and less of that on some of the more popular reality TV shows. There are, of course, some fringe shows, and I don't want to call them fringe to discredit them, but there are some shows that definitely still focus on that. But I think that at this point, there is more of an effort being made to show aspirational lifestyles with, a hint of drama and conflict and resolution to show that, hey, listen, we can disagree, but we can also come back together, have fun, and actually use this as entertainment versus, just being about drama.
See, but fighting isn't the only thing that's problematic. I mean, there's other body image issues, body shaming, this idea that we can't leave the house without our, faces completely beat, the materialistic kind of values. There's a lot more than just, are we snatching wigs? I think that's problematic here.
So let me ask the question then. Is it just affecting Black people, or is it affecting the white people too?
It's affecting everybody.
It affects everybody, clearly.
It affects everyone, but the point you made is that they maxed out the drama and the ratchetness so much, like I mentioned earlier, that lawsuits began to fly, whether it was amongst castmates, whether it was amongst the production company or the network, and they had to switch because they were running crazy with it and they were getting their numbers, but it started spilling into real reality based on manipulated storylines, and we all know this. So this is what I'm saying, is that they maxed it out and they had no choice but to clean it up, and now everyone has to follow suit because financially it's not worth it anymore.
But that's the same way that movies did it back in the movies, maxed out their violent scenes, their blowing up explosion scenes, their special effects, their this, their that, especially right when COVID hit, it shut the whole movie industry down. And
well, Mona Lisa, let me ask you this. Where would reality TV be today? Forget the explosions, without Black women.
Where would reality TV be today without Black women? I think it would still be in position, stronger than ever, because they're going to always, I'm sorry?
Really?
Yeah, I think they're going to always find a way. If it's not a Black woman, it's going to be a Black man. If it's not a Black man, it's going to be gay. It's going to be something that they're going to find that is going to rise to the top of where we are in our communities. It's going to find a way back to us one way or the other.
And I guess I want to ask you, Octavia Bostic, what does reality TV, or maybe Hollywood in general, owe to the Black community? What is their duty to us, if any?
I think we owe it to ourselves more than anything to be responsible with the messages that we project out there. And even if it's saying we don't like the script, we don't want, like, that's not my reality. Even just, just telling our truth in our voices, which is, what I advocate for in any arena, in work. You should be able to be professional and be your authentic, through your authentic voice, because we are professional. We are everything. We are everything that everyone else is, and more and better. And that's why they want us.
But Octavia, isn't there some time when you just want to chill and watch something dumb? I call it junk food for my mind. I don't want to know everything that's so great and good in the world. I just want to watch some dumb stuff for fun.
But that's why they have Cartoon Network. Absolutely.
I guess
that's why they have to.
Yes, as a mom, I kind of got burnt out on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, that's right. But here's the reality. Here's the reality. Being on the back end of this business, working with different producers, these producers bust their butt to bring positive images, positive content to these networks. And the reality is that if it's not sensational and if they don't deem it's going to do numbers, they push it back. So I know I work personally with tons of producers. I just did a pilot. 3 Black men, DeLacy Davis, Dr. Perry, myself. These are 3 Black men with a show like The View, talking about issues that affect us as Black men. man, we did a beautiful pilot. However, that's not something they would greenlight because it's just too positive, you know? And had it been any other ethnic group, they would ride it out until it gets legs up under it. But because it's us, but because we're so exploited, and because the world gives us their drugs, their guns, and let us have at it, this is the narrative that we're left with. And this is the narrative they want to portray to the rest of the world, to look at the Black man and woman as like we're reckless, we're dangerous, and we can't pull ourselves up by our bootstraps while we're under siege.
Here's where I'll semi-agree with him.
Real quick, if you would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's where I semi-agree with him, because I did the same thing. I put a hell of a pilot together for a show called Prisoner of Hope. And because it was showing too much of the positive side of incarceration and showing how it could be fixed, they didn't greenlight it as well. But they wanted to sensationalize incarceration.
And by they, of course, we mean the networks, we mean the executives. Great
Yes,
argument for owning and distributing our content. Speaking of that, this has been an incredible conversation. And when we continue, we're going to find out about the projects that each of our stellar guests are working on right now and where we can find them. That's coming up next on Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I'm Dominique DePrima, in for Tammi Mack on Foxsoul TV. Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I'm Dominique DePrima. We're talking about reality TV. Has it failed Black America? And speaking of reality, we're going to pause that reality, that conversation, to find out what's going on with our incredible lineup of guests. Everybody's got different projects that they're working on to bring their own positive spin to the entertainment landscape. Mona Lisa, tell me about your YouTube series. It's called Prisoner of Hope.
Sure. So Prisoner of Hope is based on real live families who are experiencing incarceration in their family, looking at their stories and trying to, really extract what type of help they could have and how they can make changes in their lives so that they can move forward progressively in change, so that they're not just sitting in brokenness for the rest of their eternal lives. And the funny thing is that we were greenlit by a space for creators, which was brought out by Urban One just before COVID hit. We put a great pilot together, and then when COVID hit and they decided that a lot of programs had to be pulled back, we were one of the ones that got canceled and pulled back. So it broke my heart. And with that being in a position, I said, well, I do own a production company, so why don't I just produce it myself? And so I did that and put it together, in a really low budget way, because none of the studios were open in New York and we were just making it happen. So we put our first season together and threw it on YouTube, and so far so good.
I mean, in some ways, that is what addresses so many of the issues that we're talking about when we take matters into our own hands, right?
That is absolutely true.
All right, Vin, you've got a new project, Illtown Sluggers, and I think we have a clip. I want to check this out, and a tour and all kinds of things coming up. Tell me about this project.
Yeah, so KG and I, 2/3 of Naughty by Nature, we have a new project called Illtown Sluggers. It's a group and it features our DJ Slugger. So we're about to go out on the mixtape tour too with New Kids on the Block, Salt and Pepper, In Vogue, and Rick Ashley. So it'll be 57 arenas, over 500,000 people, and we're spreading good vibes. This slugger music we're doing, really positive music, not all of the ratchet, negative stuff out here, because it dawned on us, like, today's music is so negative and it's so ratchet, and even coming from our females, I cringe when I hear them, invite you to their lady part so freely. I mean, and I'm like, man, am I getting older or what? But yeah. I'm listening and I'm hearing this stuff and I'm like, wow. Tupac said, peep the weakness in the rap game and sew it up. So there's no one making just clean music anymore. Like, I live on a park and they play music. You can't play today's music and just have elderly people or children walk by without having to mute and do all of this. So this is what we're doing. It's positive vibes, positive energy. And thanks to New Kids on the Block and their huge fan base, man, we're going in here to do the ultimate great reset when it comes to music and entertainment.
I mean, I think back, you say they said that about Too Short. I'm sure they probably said it about Millie Jackson and Red Fox. And you know what I mean? Do you think it's really that different? There's always been stuff that you couldn't play for grandma.
You know why it's so different? Because back then, you didn't have the internet. Right now, you have the internet, and it's monkey see, monkey do. The last hit record, the next 3,000, 10,000 artists are going to try to mirror that. Okay, so now you have all of this content going up on social media, YouTube, on Spotify. You can just upload all of this music. So this is the challenge of our young people and parents, right? No matter what you teach these kids at home, you have to realize they're bombarded by social media and media in general, coming at them with 10 to 15 different tentacles. You have to compete with that.
Let's take a look at Illtown Sluggers, this clip that you have.
Mommy say sluggers. The wait is over. Illtown Sluggers joining the Mixtape 2 tour. We bringing the party back in that Slugger Lounge. Y'all ready to party?
Yeah.
Hip hop parade of that.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, so bringing the positive vibes. Can you reach the young generation, you think?
Absolutely, because we're working, it's a platform. So this Illtown Sluggers platform is not only for us, but it's for young up and coming artists. And it's a platform that, like, if you have positive vibes, positive, music, you could come play on our platform, because going the other route, there's a lot of that going on. And if you want to play in that drill music and the ratchet game, tons of that out there, good luck. But we're going to create a lane of positive vibes, positive music, clean music, the way music used to be made. And now you don't have to go down that same alleyway, that same door that 3 million people are trying to go through that one door. We have a clean exit for you.
Octavia Bostic, tell us how to keep in touch with you, how to read some of your writings, maybe?
Yes, all of my handles on social media are the right one. It's THAWRITE, the number 1. I am currently working on an upcoming podcast called Conversations in the C-Suite, where we talk about all things diversity in the C-Suite and have all those hard conversations.
All right. And DJ Richie Sky, you got your own show, Reality Talk with Richie Sky.
Yeah, we talk news, entertainment, everything reality TV, interviews with reality TV stars. We also contribute to Good Day DC at times for a Celebrity Dish. And I'm also working on a series of thriller, Bridgerton meets Scandal, sort of meets Housewives book series that I'm excited about as well.
Ooh, sounds like a future Netflix show. How can we access all this content?
You guys can follow me at everything at DJ Richie Sky.
Everything at DJ Richie Sky. And the Celebrity Dish appearances as well?
Yes. For that, it's Good Day DC on Fox 5 DC.
All right. So let me ask you the same question, DJ Richie Sky. Is this part of the solution? I know reality can't be all things to all people, but we also don't want to co-sign something that's literally undermining our well-being as a community. Is this part of that portfolio that you're taking on here with your own versions of these shows?
Well, I think, number one, everything at this point in time is about ownership, and it's about us taking ownership, not having to worry about what the networks are doing, because everything is moving towards streaming. So I think that's the first thing. And I think it's up to us to create the content that we want to see. So I think as long as we are doing that, we become responsible for what we see and what we put out there. So to me, that is the solution, what we are all doing here with our own individual platforms, because that's really the only way that we'll see any change that we want to see.
Octavia, something tells me you don't agree.
No, I do agree. I agree.
Okay.
Well, we definitely create our own content and create our own narratives and tell our own stories in our own voices. And then we can't complain.
So you're saying you're fine with that reality TV existing as long as we can turn it off and watch something else instead?
Absolutely.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of, the tech giants or these tech tools we have, because now you can be self-produced, you could, you know, develop your content, and then you can get legs under it and it could scale beyond that. But right now is the time for us to invest in our content, invest in ourselves. We can't say we don't have the disposable income, because you see Gucci, Louis, Fendi all over the place right now, and the money is there. So it's a matter of
those are real
being
products.
disciplined.
Yeah, but your point is taken. And also we have the means of distribution, which we've never had before. Not just the means to make content, but the means to get it out there. Our topic today, though, reality TV. Is it failing the Black community? And we are going to continue this conversation on Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I'm Dominique DePrima, and this is Foxsoul TV. Business of Being Black with Tammi Mack. I'm Dominique DePrima, in for Tammi Mack. Our conversation today is focusing on reality TV. Is it failing the Black community? And look, I'm known as an activist. I'm known to be very politically minded, very positive. I'm a conscious sister, but I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I like to watch reality shows. I like the really weird ones where, you know, like Love It, Married at First Sight, or, you know, 90 Day Fiance, really crazy stuff. Because it's like, oh, well, my life is crazy, but it ain't like that. I'm not really sure what it is, or maybe there's some kind of voyeurism. But what I want to ask you, and I would like all of you guys to really consider this, is how is the reality TV world changing our actual world? I know for sure, I'll give you an example. I feel like makeup is different because of reality TV. We wear more makeup. We show more cleavage. We wear tighter clothes. I think that's, yes, you could put that impact to hip hop, but I also put it to reality TV. But what about relationships? What about the way we deal with our family, our loved ones? Is our reality being changed by reality TV? And I'm going to start with you, Octavia.
I definitely think it is, and I agree with you. I like, those are my guilty pleasures, like the dating reality shows and whatnot. And I do think it causes people to look at their relationships and seeing, you know, these relationships, and even the people who are single with shows like 90 Day Fiance. They're like, oh, well, that could be me. You know, I could meet my my husband in, you know, Russia. Well, not right now, but I do think that it causes people to say, oh, what if, you know, or maybe it could be me. But is that always good? Not with some of the relationships that we see, but I do like that it starts the conversations, especially the Black love ones, you know, which I do want to see more of on television, are the positive Black love.
I love to see Black women winning on
Totally.
TV. Richie Sky, talk to me about this, the way it's changing. And this is going to sound crazy, but there's a lot of conversation right now about porn changing people's real life relationships. Is reality doing the same thing, reality TV?
Well, I don't know if it's doing it quite the way that porn is, but I really honestly, I have to agree. I think that it does change us in some way, shape, or form in the things that we maybe aspire towards, relationships that maybe we want to avoid, relationships that maybe we want to emulate. I am a guilty pleasure watcher of shows like Married at First Sight. And so I get so infuriated watching those shows as well. So I have to agree. I think that in some way it is, but I don't think it's in any way more than I would say social media is.
It's interesting though, because you spin it as if it's a good thing for our relationships, like maybe we're getting some life skills or something from watching reality TV.
I think it's like honestly, I'm going to say this and it may be a bit controversial, but I think it's like a gun. It's all in how you use it.
Okay. On that note, I'm going to you, Vin. Are we getting a distorted perception of family and interpersonal intimate relationships from reality TV, or maybe we're getting better at them?
Yes, I mean, I think it's a double-edged sword, because when you look at some of these reality shows and you see, especially right now, this female body augmentation is at an all-time high. However, you have advocates like K. Michelle who are telling the truth about the realities of, you know, botching your body or going to the wrong surgeon or what have you. So a lot of these young girls are starting to listen, and girls who are sick because of that. They're taking heed. Then you have people like Cardi B. I mean, people love the underdog story, the rags to riches, where she came from the bottom, from the Bronx. She's been an international superstar. And now, you know, when people, myself included, and people in hip hop, you starting from very humble beginnings, and the hood is a lie. I always say that because we've been shunned from regular society. But if you're blessed to tour the world and you become cultured, and then you're making money and you understand what buying a home is, home ownership and property taxes and how your taxes are used, you become cultured and you do change and you do evolve. So there is a bright side at the end of the day with these reality shows and the personalities.
I mean, it's certainly a different cast of characters than the made up stereotypes of Black women on fictionalized shows, right? It might be just as exaggerated, but it's a different group of women.
Yes, definitely. I've watched Married to Medicine a couple of times, but, you know, to see women married to doctors and or be doctors, you know, it's aspiring, definitely. And another thing, one last thing I would like to say, especially on HGTV and the DIY networks, you're starting to see a lot more Black couples get involved in real estate and flipping homes. And with this Buy Back the Block movement, we have people who we see doing it in our neighborhoods, and that's definitely positive.
Mona Lisa Johnson, I've got to ask you this question because your daughter was incarcerated. You went and did a reality show where you were in jail, not prison. Let me make sure I get that right. But you said it actually changed your real life relationship with your daughter. So you've played this out in real time.
Absolutely. I was going to say it most definitely changes people's real lives. When you look at First 48, that show, that was a show that was like, bringing a lot of attention to police brutality. Then you look at shows like 60 Days In, where it was bringing more attention to the injustices and the prison injustices that are occurring inside the jails and prisons, where there's so much mistreatment going on. There's drugs coming in. There's nobody being rehabilitated. But in this case, it did change my life. By going on that show, what it did was it opened up the door for me to, one, have more money. And I did not think I was the bottom of the barrel when I went in. I'm a 7-figure sister. I'm going to keep it real with you. And when I went in, people were like, what are you doing? Are you out of your mind? And I was like, yeah, kind of, sort of, because believe it or not, my opportunities and my awareness was not what I thought it was until I went inside. When I went inside, more attorneys, more people started to come out of the woodwork to show me that there were ways and options to break a mandatory minimum sentence, which had never been done in this the county of Gwinnett County in Georgia, which is right somewhere near Atlanta, Georgia. And so by being on that show, I was able to get my daughter out 5 years early from a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence. It also opened up the door for me to have a platform and a voice to our community and to the other communities to see that there is a problem with mass incarceration. And so they started to talk about what is incarceration, let alone mass incarceration. And just, to me, it helped. And a lot of shows helped.
Changing the conversation, but also changing your personal relations. I'm going to throw this to you, Vinrod. We've been talking a lot about reality TV's responsibility, but hip hop has been like a strange bedfellow for reality TV. What's hip hop's responsibility in all this?
Well, hip hop has always had a responsibility, and I'm a 70s baby. I grew up in the 70s, teenager in the 80s. We had Public Enemy, we had, Tribe Called Quest, we had X-Clan. We had so many Afrocentric, hip hop artists who taught us about our history, our culture, our leaders, right? And then it got to a point where this gangster rap thing happened, and it was basically the lowest hanging fruit. And corporations are able to take advantage of all of this sensationalism. And now what you have is this drill music going around. And with corporations like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, where these guys are literally banging over the internet and they're going live and pursuing their ops and committing crime and murder right there live, And I'm like, wait, if you could censor the president of the United States, how can you not cannot censor these accounts where these young people are committing genocide. So hip hop has a responsibility. And I think as parents, as a community, we need to hold these corporations and these tech companies liable for what they're co-signing and underwriting, because it's genocide at the end of the day.
Well, it's a really interesting point too, because I think I would argue that all of those genres are still out there, but they're not getting the shine. And so then that does point the finger right back to the corporations. Many times what's promoted and what's marketed to us is what we tend to go to first. This has been a fascinating conversation. I'm really looking forward to seeing all of your projects that are coming out. And I want to thank you all so very much for sharing your heartfelt thoughts, your projects, and even your guilty pleasures. DJ Richie Sky, thank you so much for being with us today. Looking forward to all you have to say about reality in the future. Octavia Bostek, thank you for giving us that perspective, the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion piece. Mona Lisa Johnson, looking forward to seeing your YouTube show and your continued work in this space. And Vin Rock, well, you know I got to get that tour. I cannot wait to see you live in concert. I'm Dominique DePrima. Thank you all for being here. Don't go nowhere. Cocktails with Queens is next. This has been Business of Being Black. I'm Dominique DePrima, but don't worry, Tammi Mack will be right back.